You that the views expressed in today's show do not reflect the views of KZLX, KNWT, or Northwest Missouri State University. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Play ball! It's now time to kick your weekend off the right way. So get ready for the next 180 minutes as we bring you the top stories in the sports world.
The Lakers have landed LeBron.
The biggest moments.
Pass is caught! Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown!
And the hottest takes.
I have to look at that again.
Now your hosts, Trevor Mader, Ryan Elliott, Jacob Blair, and Kramer Sansone with the Weekend Sports Kickoff on X106 and KNWT Channel 8.
Well, you're listening to the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Might help if I turn my mic on. You would think as many times as we've done this, I would know. It's been a long week, guys. The promo is a little bit deceiving today. Trevor Mader, Ryan Elliott, Justin Quick, and Andrew Botwinick with you to begin the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Kramer Sansone will join us in a little bit. But how's everybody doing today?
Good. It's been a good day.
Been a good day? All
Friday.
right. Yeah, hey, it's better than nothing. And Justin, I know this weekend you're going to make the glorious trek to, is it St. Charles? Is that actually?
Yes, it is. I'm going to head down there tomorrow morning. So.
But how far of a jaunt is that?
Well, I'm heading home tonight, which is about 2 hours down to Odessa, and then it's about 3 hours from there. So it's going to be about 5 hours driving total.
Not riding with Legley this weekend?
No, he's heading home for the weekend.
Oh.
Gave him the weekend off.
Oh, how nice of you. This matchup this week is the Bearcats are at Lindenwood, coming off a homecoming victory over Nebraska Kearney. Just what are some of the things that you kind of looked at in previewing this matchup?
I looked at the similar style that Coach Wright hit on that both the offenses play. They both have a dual threat quarterback with Braden Wright, obviously, for Northwest. And then I think it's Cade, what was his last name? I think Rooster is for Lindenwood. They're both freshmen coming into the game, and they both have that dual threat style to where they can take off and, pick up the yardage they need on the ground or, light it up through the air. They both actually are second on both the teams in rushing yardage, so be interesting to watch coming in how the Bearcat defense deals with that.
I was going to say it's too bad that this is Lindenwood's last year in the MIAA because that'd be an interesting matchup over the next couple of years, a battle of young quarterbacks, both freshmen, as Justin alluded to. You have Braden Wright for the Bearcats, and Lindenwood as well has a fine young quarterback by the name of
Cade Brister.
Cade Brister. Yeah. I was trying to find it, could not find it, but yeah, he's played really well this season as well. And it's going to be an interesting matchup tomorrow. And I don't think, in years past, when you look at Lindenwood, you just chalk that up as a win and a comfortable win. I don't know that you can quite do that tomorrow. I think the Bearcats are still favored in that one. But this is a much improved Lindenwood team, and I can't be the only one that thinks that. Am I, guys?
No, I don't think you're the only one that thinks that here. And I don't think you're the only one that thinks that in the conference either, because they've put up a bunch of points this season. They're third in the conference in points at about 33 points a game. So it's something that Northwest is not going to be able to take light coming into this year.
Yeah, the MIAA has been just topsy-turvy this year. And there's Northwest right now is a favorite, but they're not comfortable by any means. They're currently atop the MIAA standing 6-1 overall. Fort Hays and Pitt State are both 5-2. Northwest does have the tiebreaker over Pitt State. They have yet to play Northwest has yet to play Fort Hays. Central Oklahoma, Emporia State, Missouri Western, Nebraska Kearney, and Washburn are all 4-3, and Central Missouri and Lindenwood are 3-4. Missouri Southern and Northeastern State are both still looking for their first win as they currently sit at 0-7 on the season, but one of those two teams will get a win tomorrow when they face each other down in Joplin. So when you look at the MIAA, they beat up on each other all year with the exception of the two teams that are winless. I mean, there's no one else with one win or two wins that goes 6-1, 5-2, 4-3, 3-4, and then a big drop off to 0-7.
It's clear that the middle of this conference especially is very even. You've got that little muddy middle ground in there with it's clear that it's Northwest 1, Hays 2 at this point. I think then you look at you've got this middle ground.
3 is who's the third best team?
You've got this middle ground of Washburn, Pitt State, Emporia, Central Oklahoma, Lindenwood, all in that middle ground there. That it's tough to tell exactly who comes out of that at number 3. I don't know that it matters in terms of regional standings, anything like that. It's starting to look like the MIAA is probably only going to get one team into the region, but it's going to be tough to tell exactly where the middle of this conference is going.
Yeah, an interesting schedule. The MIAA tomorrow. Fort Hays travels to Nebraska Kearney. That's the team we saw Northwest face last week. As we know, Northwest is at Lindenwood. Missouri Western is at Emporia State. Washburn at Central Oklahoma. Central Missouri at Pittsburgh State. And Northeastern State at Missouri Southern. So this is one week where when you look at all 6 games, they all have different levels of interest because you've got Northeastern State, Missouri Southern. One of those teams is going to get their first win. And then you've got the top half of the other 12 teams that have been at the top of the conference kind of going toe-to-toe this week. So a lot to look at. Looking around the MIAA, guys, is there any one particular game you're maybe a little more interested in than another?
I think that Central Missouri Pitt State game is what I'm going to be looking at and keeping up on with that score. Pitt State coming off a big blowout loss to Fort Hays. I think they're going to be hungry to get back into that win streak column. And I think Central Missouri is a team that they've kind of been up in the air this season. They've put up pretty good performances in some games. In some games they've come out and looked like they little dead. And so I think it should be an interesting game to see which Central Missouri team shows up and how Pitt State comes back from that 50-21 loss.
Ryan, any one particular game that you're really intrigued about in the MIAA?
I think, again, a big one comes, as Justin mentioned, in Pitt State Central Missouri. That's really the last opportunity for Pitt State to assert themselves toward the top of the conference and really give themselves a shot at making this regional tournament. The other one I look at is Fort Hays at Nebraska.
That was going to be mine.
And Hays sitting at 2 losses. They need a win, and it's not going to be an easy one against a Kearney team that came into Northwest for homecoming and gave the Bearcats all they could handle. So Fort Hays needs a win coming out there as well if they want to remain in the hunt for a spot in that regional tournament. Yeah,
and let's talk a little bit about that Kearney game last week. Ryan, I know you weren't there, but Justin and I were both there working it, and Kearney, I tell you, they did impress me. They put up a really good fight last Saturday. And the Bearcats, they got out early. First three drives, I should say, ended in touchdowns. And then after that, you're thinking, man, they're going to pour it on. This is looking like it could be a 42-0 halftime game. But then after that, the offense just kind of coasted, and Kearney called themselves back into it. The Bearcats did persevere for the win, though.
Yeah, they were able to do enough defensively to stop Kearney from scoring more than a couple times. But like you said, they got out to that hot start, that 21-0 start like they have done the past few games. But after that, the offense just couldn't find that momentum, and Braden was struggling a little bit with his throws, and the run game was staying consistent, but at the same time, it wasn't that explosive run game we saw at Pitt State. So it was interesting to see that Kearney defense kind of step up, and I think Kearney's going to be a team the next couple of years we might see make some big jumps. They're looking a lot more impressive this year than they were the past few years, and I think there's something they're building there in Kearney that might be something to look at moving forward.
Yeah, and I think what kind of gets forgotten about that game is Kearney had a lot of opportunities. I believe 3 times they had the ball inside the Northwest 35-yard line and turned it over on downs, and just unable to convert on some opportunities. Northwest did end up getting the win. The first half was an offensive explosion. The second half, the defense showed some signs. Also, they gave up a lot of yards in the second half as well. But a big day for Trent Nally, maybe the most unlikely of heroes. A backup safety, a townie, comes in late in the game and gets 2 interceptions. And I don't know about you, but that was pretty cool to see.
That was really cool to see. And Coach Wright had been talking about, Kearney we think of as a run team. And he said that that was obviously the philosophy going into the game, was to stack the box and make Kearney throw the ball. But when Kearney did start throwing the ball after they got down 21-0, he said he inserted Nally in there in that nickel role to kind of give him some more athleticism out there. And obviously it worked out with him making a couple plays there at the end. But it was nice to see him, kind of get the 2 interceptions. It was a shame that he got those so late in the game because we'd already submitted our, votes for the Don Black Award. But that might have changed, but I'm glad Jack was able to get it and finally see a defensive player come through with it.
Yeah, Jack Richards took home the homecoming MVP honors, so to speak, and just really all around, the defense did have a good day. Richards had a really good day. Shama Pierre played pretty well for the most part, and then Trent Nally came up big with a couple of late interceptions. But the play that sticks out to me the most is the one on the offensive side of the ball in the first quarter. That throw by LaTroy Harper. Might want to consider putting him on the depth chart at quarterback, maybe if he keeps making throws like that. That was a laser.
That was a beautiful pass, and we were sitting there on the Kearney sideline, taking pictures and everything. We saw the pass back to LaTroy, and I was like, oh, I know where this is going. They've pulled out a few trick plays past couple games, a couple against Pitt, and he just, like you said, it was a beautiful laser to Brody, and Brody did the rest for himself. I mean, it was a beautiful pass, and we almost thought about asking Braden after in the press conference if he was a little bit worried about LaTroy, sneaking up on him during the off season this year, but he's coming into his own. LaTroy is. He's making it quite a few plays. He had a touchdown last week as a receiving touchdown, and I think he's going to be a special guy and a special player they could look for. And
we mentioned at the beginning of the year when it was pretty obvious they were going to burn his red shirt, they weren't going to redshirt him. This isn't a program historically that freshmen play a lot, and most of the time they're not gonna not redshirt you unless you're going to play. And it's going to be really interesting to see his potential going forward. I think there's a chance when he's said and done that maybe we look at him as one of the top 10 receivers to have played at Northwest. I don't think that's crazy to say, is it?
I don't think so. I mean, there have been a lot of great receivers that have come through here at Northwest, and it'll be tough to determine exactly where he sits there, but I don't think that's crazy to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put the expectation of he's going to be Jake Soy or Jamaica Rector or one of those guys. I don't want to put that expectation on a college freshman, but I think the potential,
or even Sean Bain.
Yeah, Sean Bain. I think the skill set is there. I think the potential is definitely there for him to make a lot of plays over the next couple of years.
I can definitely see him. I see more of a Randy Schmidt in him. He's kind of an all-around kind of guy who's going to make the play that you need him to make no matter where you put him at. They can, obviously we've seen him throw the ball now a couple times in the season, and he's 2 for 2 there. So
he's got the best probably quarterback rating in the MIAA right now.
Probably does, yeah. But I think I see him more as a Randy Schmidt than like a Sean Bain, who's a pure wide receiver. I think he's a more all-around player to where you can line him up at, maybe run him a little quarterback if you need to, if, something happens, later on down in the future. But I definitely don't think you're out of line saying he might be one of the best receivers to come through Northwest.
I think potential is definitely there. Obviously, I mean, he's played. We're 7 games into his freshman year, but the potential I think is there. And this kid is just a really good athlete, a standout basketball player as well at Penny High School in Hamilton, and he can make a lot of plays. And that's the thing is, you look at some of this offense. There are some young pieces on this team, with Wright being just a freshman, Harper just a freshman. That there's a lot of pieces there for the next couple of years as well.
He has a quarterback efficiency right now of 676.
Pretty good.
So I think that's pretty good so far.
If I was him, I would go to Coach Wright and say, Coach, I don't want to throw another pass the rest of the season. I want to keep that.
Retiring from my quarterback.
I'm retiring from my quarterback. I'm a good enough wide receiver. I don't need to play quarterback. I'm sure though, as a skill player, you probably really love when the coach draws up a play that lets you show something else. It's just like when an offensive lineman gets an opportunity to catch the football. I don't know if you ever got that opportunity, Ryan, but I'm sure you were kind of always wanting that opportunity, weren't you?
Yeah, no, I never did get that opportunity. Coach Thudium, if you're watching, I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, but, Ryan would have been great. Just put him in a goal-to-go situation.
I did average 5 yards a carry in my high school career.
Were they on fumble recoveries?
One 5-yard fumble recovery.
Hey, it's not bad.
Everybody loves a big man touchdown too.
Yeah, those are the best.
I never scored.
Well,
did you at least get like a first down or?
No.
Oh.
I was on 2nd and 8.
Well, then it turned into 3rd and manageable. So, hey, that's a
doing your 111th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't put you in a goal-to-go situation then in the backfield and just let you go William Refrigerator Perry over somebody.
No, that was not going to happen.
Okay.
Our running back was too good for that.
Well, you could have blocked for him. Yeah. Could have put you back as a fullback, made everyone think you were going to run it and then blocked. Anyways, we didn't bring Justin on to talk about Ryan's high school football career, even though it is really entertaining, and I would like to dig more into it. Justin, I know you wrote some really interesting stories this week that you kind of wanted to touch up on. Why don't you just talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, I obviously wrote the normal preview for Lindenwood, but I also found a unique story to write about this week in the long snapper for the Bearcats. His name is Michael Sorfenden. Number 54, and he originally came here as a linebacker and a long snapper out of Harlan, Iowa.
A la Andy Hessler.
Yep, kind of the same thing with Andy. And with his what I really wanted to hit on was his early life battles that he had. He was diagnosed with form of leukemia when he was 2 years old and battled that for 3 years, went through therapy and everything for 3 years. And as I sat down and talked to him, one of the things I'm going to remember for a very, very long time was him describing the pain that he had to go through during those therapies. You don't remember much when you're 2 years old and you're having to go through things, but he said he remembers it just because of how much of a struggle it was. And he said the doctors described the therapy as having one arm tied to a truck and another arm or a leg tied to a car and then pulling apart when they had to do the spinal taps and everything. So that was definitely a great experience to sit down and talk to him. And he's a great kid. I'm glad he's, having a successful career for the Bearcats. And he moved to long snapper a couple of years ago just because he was having some issues with his medical background. He's broke a couple vertebrae in high school, so he'd been playing through that as a linebacker and moved to long snapper full time. So now he's a full time long snapper for the Bearcats and making a few plays. He made a couple tackles in the Kearney game, so it was nice to see him get on the field and make some plays.
Yeah, and it's cool to see a kid like that come up through Northwest. We've talked about there have been a couple of players at Northwest that have had to go through some struggles such as that, and I think it's something that is just really cool to see, especially from he's been an unbelievably consistent long snapper. That it's been just and as a long snapper and as a good long snapper, especially in Division II college football, it's all about consistency, and he's been able to be consistent for the special teams.
Justin, how can people read this wonderful story that you wrote for the Missourian?
You can pick up a paper. We still got them out in the bins that we have around campus or around town. Or if you go online to nwmissourinews.com, it is in the sports section, and you can read it there. It's got the full story online there, and if you pick up a paper, it's got on the back page A12. It's got this part of the story there, and then it jumps to A9 for the sports jumps. So if you want to go ahead and pick that up or head online, you can go ahead and read that full story and read what Coach Wright had to say about him as well. He's very impressed with the way he handles himself on the field as well. Definitely
a story that you'll want to check out. Interesting story on long snapper Michael Sorfunden. And Justin, real quick, before you, I guess tomorrow you'll head to Lindenwood, make that fun drive. What's going to be the one thing that you're going to be paying the most attention to?
I'm going to be paying the most attention to how the offense comes out, whether they're going to come out with a nice offensive explosion again and, get out to that 28-0 lead and then kind of taper off, or whether they're able to finally find that consistency and have a full 4 quarters of consistent offense and maybe not have that, huge lead heading into halftime, but have a nice consistent game throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, I kind of want to see how the offense responds. If they can get off to another quick start, and then if they do get off to a quick start, if they can keep it going, which they really weren't able to do last week against Nebraska Kearney. But that's going to be an interesting one. Like I said, Lindenwood is, in years past, Lindenwood's been one of those games that you look at it and you go, okay, the Bearcats are going to win. They're going to win pretty comfortably. I don't know this is quite the case this year. I still think the Cats are the favorite, but I don't think it's crazy to say that Lindenwood could make this interesting. Definitely at Lindenwood.
And this is their homecoming game, isn't it?
Yep.
I think so. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think I saw that on their schedule. And another thing that I saw looking at the preview for this game, it's at Lindenwood because it's their homecoming game. They're 1-3 at home this year, and then they're 3-1, I believe, on the road this year. Yep. And their road wins are.
Maybe they'd rather play on the road than at home.
They'd rather come to Maryville instead of St. Charles.
I don't think anyone's ever said that we'd just rather play at Bearcat.
I don't think that's the case either. I think this Lindenwood team, to get Northwest at home, you're on your way out of the MIAA. You want to get them at home, no matter what your home record is. One thing I did want to mention before we get kicked off of Northwest sports right now is that we have talked a couple of times. We've mentioned that Lindenwood is on their way out of the MIAA. They are leaving the MIAA effective after this season.
Lincoln
University of Jefferson City is on their way in to the MIAA. They're going to take on Lindenwood's football schedule for next year. They have also announced that to replace Lindenwood, because Lincoln is already in the conference and all of the other sports, they announced today that to replace Lindenwood in the other sports is Rogers State University from, I believe, Claremore, Oklahoma. So they've added another Oklahoma school starting fall of 2019. Rogers State will be joining the MIAA in...
I'm hitting stuff over here, guys. Just ignore me.
They'll join the MIAA starting fall of 2019 in everything but football. Rogers State does not have a football program. So Lindenwood on the way out, Rogers State on the way in to replace them in all of the other athletic events other than football. So they did mention that, again, the MIAA removed their specific sports sponsorship requirements this June to allow for a few things, and so Rogers State would be able to consider adding football and join the MIAA in football, but in their statement today, the officials said that the university will not be adding football to the athletic programs. So
all right, that's really, and Lindenwood's leaving for the Great Lakes
Valley Conference. They and Lincoln are switching places in terms of football. So
yeah, so definitely some news I guess kind of just developed this morning that was announced that Rogers State will.
I think it was late last
night. So there we go. Lindenwood out of the MIAA. Lincoln will come in, and then Rogers State will be there for the other athletics that Lincoln was also already in for. We're going to take a real quick break. When we get back, we're going to look at week number 8 of the college football season. You're listening to the Weekend Sports Kickoff on KNWT Channel 8 and X106.
You that the views expressed in today's show do not reflect the views of KZLX, KNWT, or Northwest Missouri State University. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Play ball! It's now time to kick your weekend off the right way. So get ready for the next 180 minutes as we bring you the top stories in the sports world.
The Lakers have landed LeBron.
The biggest moments.
Pass is caught. Diggs, sideline, touchdown.
And the hottest takes.
I have to look at that again.
Now your hosts, Trevor Mater, Ryan Elliott, Jacob Blair, and Kramer Sansone with the Weekend Sports Kickoff on X106 and KNWT Channel 8.
But I know I got my upset right. I'm 3-4 with upsets this year. Ryan, my man, 6-1. How about that? Good job, Ryan.
K-State over Texas is the only one I missed.
Yeah.
Hey,
Justin's horns
I
couldn't.
picked Texas to get beat earlier in the year and got that one, so I'm
Yeah,
1
that's
for 1
fine.
on Texas.
That's fine.
I'm 1
I mean,
for 1 on
Texas is 6-1 and number 7 in the country, so I'll
Yeah,
take it.
Last week,
left out of the playoff.
Last week, Jacob Blair, who is not with us today, he will be back next week. He went 3-2. Ryan, myself, and Kramer went 2-3, and Caleb just has been struggling lately. He went 1-4. Overall in the season, Ryan 23-12, as is Jacob. I'm only 5 games back at 18-17. So is Caleb, and Kramer is 16-19. So yeah, it wasn't a great week, but wasn't a terrible week unless your name was Caleb. So why don't we go ahead and look at the college football picks. The first game that we will pick out of 5, number 6 Michigan at number 24 Michigan State. Michigan has looked pretty darn good the last couple of weeks since they got beat by Notre Dame in week 1. Michigan State, they've been kind of an up-and-down team. They upset Penn State last week and was able to jump themselves into the top 25 rankings. This is kind of a little brother, big brother game. And Ryan, is it big brother or little brother this week?
Yeah, it's big brother this week. That is if you're considering Michigan.
Yes, Michigan's.
Yeah, I'm going with Michigan. The defense is just too good. I just don't think Michigan State's going to be able to get anything going. I know Michigan State's they're in the habit of playing spoiler. They did it to Penn State last week, but I'm going with Michigan. I think the defense is just too good.
Justin?
I'm going to stick with Michigan as well. I think, Ryan, you hit it right on the, hit the nail right on the head with that defense of Michigan you got down there. And I think Michigan State is just, they've had a good season so far, but I think Michigan is just on a roll right now after that loss that they picked up early on.
I agree. I think Michigan is going to win this one. They had a huge win last week against Wisconsin, which I didn't call. But
were you the only one that picked that, or did Ryan have Wisconsin too?
I had Wisconsin.
I was going to say I wasn't the only one that picked Wisconsin, but Shea Patterson's been given the green light this whole year as a transfer. He's got 1,300 yards over on offense, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I think this is going to be a good game to watch for sure.
Caleb, Jacob, and of course Kramer are all taking Michigan as well. I'm going to take Michigan as well, and I honestly, guys, I think this one could be ugly. I just don't think Michigan State's a top 25 team this year. And I think the recipe to beat Michigan is you have to be able to run the ball well because their pass defense is so good. Their run defense is still decent, but it's not as good. And Michigan State hasn't ran the ball super well this year. So I think Michigan wins probably almost in the same fashion they beat Wisconsin last week.
I think the only thing that keeps this game close is that it's in East Lansing.
Yes. I think that's
the only thing that keeps
what they've got going for them. But other than that, I don't know. I think this one is all Wolverines. And I said it last week, Michigan might end up being a playoff team. I think right now they're playing like one of the best teams in the nation.
If they win out.
They're in.
One loss Big Ten champion gets in basically automatically.
Yeah. Big 12, probably not. Pac-12, probably not.
Absolutely
but Big 10, yeah.
Pac-12 is done. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, it would take a lot of crazy stuff for the Pac-12 to get in. Moving on to the next one, number 16, North Carolina State at number 3, Clemson. North Carolina State, they've been a quiet undefeated. Their one marquee matchup this year was against West Virginia, but unfortunately got canceled due to the hurricane out there a couple weeks ago. So that was really their big chance to showcase to the country, and that didn't get to happen. But now they get a Clemson team that has had a lot of things going on this year. A quarterback transfer midseason. Trevor Lawrence was hurt earlier on in the year. This is potentially a trap game, but Clemson's a tough place to play. Ryan, who are you taking?
I'm going with Clemson. I don't know that it's close. Clemson's a 17-point favorite for a reason. You know, all the talk's been surrounding Trevor Lawrence and Kelly Bryant and who's going to start. Kelly Bryant ended up transferring, but that doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter right now because Travis Etienne is having one of the best seasons we've seen in a long time. He's averaging 9.2 yards per carry. He's got 11 touchdowns. I would give him the Doak Walker Award right now as the best running back in the country. That's what's going to propel Clemson over the top.
Justin?
I'm taking Clemson as well as at home. I think if they were playing at NC State, I might have maybe a little bit of hesitancy to pick Clemson because NC State just seems to always pull one random upset, kind of like Iowa State does every year. But I think Clemson at home is just going to be too much, and they're averaging almost a 30-point win right now, scoring 42 points and only giving up 14. So I think it's just going to be too much for NC State to handle.
Andrew?
I'm going to add on to what Ryan was saying earlier about Travis Etienne. That 9.2 yards per carry. I actually did some research the other night because I thought it was close to the NCAA record. It is not.
Did Barry Sanders have the...
No, actually, it is Jackie Robinson at UCLA in 1939, 12.2 yards a carry.
How many carries did he have?
I didn't look that up, but he had to have had
probably like 2 carries.
He had the minimum, I guess, requirement for it. So
had to be quite a few at least.
I think the full season minimum requirement is like 75 carries.
I think it was enough where...
That sounds right. 50 or 75.
Something like that.
Huh.
I'll look that up. Come back to me.
You should have saved that for a trivia question Monday.
I should have. Dang it.
Because I never would have got... I don't think... Would anyone here have got that?
I had to look that up to make sure it was Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, I would have... That's probably... I would have gone Barry Sanders.
Either that or Coleman a few years ago for Indiana. I know he was...
Tevin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was averaging like 10 or something like that. At one point.
Well, and Andre Williams from Boston College, I think, had a really... I would have been one of those guys. I would have never guessed Jackie Robinson.
No.
But that NC State defense is 13th in the nation in FBS at 107 yards a game they let up. Clemson is currently the 4th best rushing offense at 280 yards a game, and they're sitting behind teams that primarily run the ball: Navy, Army, West Point, and Georgia State, who are all known for running the ball only. Yeah. Yep. And I think that's going to be a huge factor is if Clemson will get this run game going.
I'm going with North Carolina State, really for no other reason than I just haven't been impressed. I don't know what it is. I have not been impressed with Clemson this year. And I think this game, either Clemson wins convincingly or North Carolina State pulls the upset. I don't know if there's a medium there. I don't know that it's a Clemson wins by 7, and I don't think North Carolina State blows them out of the water by any means. I think this one's either like a 38-7 Clemson win or like a 24-21 North Carolina State win. North Carolina State played them really close last year. They were a field goal kicker away from pulling off the upset last year. And I think this is North Carolina State's chance to put themselves on the map because, you're at 16 right now. If you beat Clemson, you're jumping into the top 10, and all of a sudden you can start talking playoffs. So this is an interesting matchup, but I don't know.
I think this is going to prove that NC State's probably not
I think that's
playoff contender because I think look at they're 5-0 this season with wins over James Madison by 11. Georgia State.
James Madison would beat a lot of...
Right, but Georgia State, Marshall, Virginia, Boston College. Not exactly the greatest schedule in the world.
No.
And Boston College by 5.
And that was without
Marshall by 17.
That was without Dylan, their star running back too.
Yeah,
So I'm going with North Carolina State. Kramer, Caleb, and Jacob, they're all with me taking the Wolfpack. So normally when the consensus goes for an upset, that normally means the upset is not going to happen.
Yeah.
This might be like a 38-7 Clemson victory. Moving on to the next one, number 22 Mississippi State at number 5 LSU. LSU a couple weeks ago got beat by Florida. Then they went out and took it to Georgia to move up. They're number 5 in the rankings. I'm not going to lie, guys. I did not think a couple weeks ago that LSU would be back up in the top 5. I don't know about you guys.
I didn't either.
But, they look pretty good against Georgia. Mississippi State coming to town. The last couple of years, Mississippi State's one of those teams that have been capable of getting a team like A&M when they're ranked real high. But Death Valley is a little bit tougher than College Station, or at least I think so. Ryan, does Mississippi State get the upset this week?
No, they don't. Again, I'm going to use the same reasoning that I did for Clemson and Nick Brissett. He's been too good. The running game, and you know what? LSU actually sort of has a quarterback this year in
Joe
Burrow, and they're still only averaging 202. They are averaging exactly the same number of yards passing and rushing per game this year, and I think that's why they win.
Justin?
I'm taking the upset. I'm taking the Bulldogs. The difference I think here is going to be the Mississippi State defense. It's not necessarily going to be the offense. I think they're going to score just enough points to get the win, but I think it's going to be a hard-fought game, and Mississippi State's defense is giving up 12.7 points a game and only allowing just under 300 yards total per game at 289. So I think their defense is going to do enough for them to allow their offense to get just enough points to pull off the upset.
Andrew?
I'm sorry, excuse me. I was looking up the other stat, trying to figure out how many rushes Jackie Robinson had. He had like 514 yards on 42 carries.
So the minimum was probably 40 or 25.
Yeah.
But still, I did not know that Jackie Robinson was. Interesting. LSU, Mississippi State.
Yeah, sorry, LSU, Mississippi State. I think it was the only one last week that called the LSU win.
You did.
I'm high on this LSU team. I think that if they win out, they're going to make it into that Final Four.
Absolutely, because you'll have win over Alabama, win over Georgia, and then a win over somebody, probably Georgia again in the SEC title game.
Mm-hmm. And I think I don't have this even a close game. I think that LSU is going to run away with this one. I think that the way we've seen this LSU team play, they had that one slip up against Florida 2 weeks ago. But that's about as struggle as we've seen them have this whole season.
Yeah, I'm going with LSU as well. Nick Brissett, pretty darn good. 640 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns. They've also got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's they have kind of a 1-2 punch, and then Burrow's been able to make plays with his legs as well. I think LSU wins pretty comfortably on that one. And Andrew, he picked LSU. Caleb picked LSU. Kramer picked LSU. And Jacob picked LSU, so it is Tigers across the board on that one. So your chances are pretty good of getting that one right, Justin.
Hey, I'll take it if it happens.
Moving on to the next one, number 12, Oregon, at number 25, Washington State. This is where College Game Day will be tomorrow. They are in Pullman for the first time ever. I didn't realize that I just kind of assumed they hadn't been in.
Well, Washington State, not historically a football
But they've had
powerhouse.
they had a couple good years. The Ryan Leaf, Nate Hibble years.
Right. But just not ever game day worthy.
I read a stat there's 11 Power 5 teams that have not hosted game day.
Really?
Yeah. I can't.
I'm not sure I could name who they are.
I know Iowa State's one of them. I think Kansas.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
I don't know. If you guys break down Oregon and Washington State enough, I could probably look it up. So, Ryan, Oregon, Washington State, who are you picking?
I'm going with Oregon. I think, it's easy to look at this Washington State team and get excited because you've got Gardner Minshew, who's got 2,400 passing yards this year and is just throwing the ball around the yard. But I think Oregon is just, to me anyway, to beat Oregon, you've got to run the football successfully, and Washington State is not great at that. And I think Oregon's just going to be able to control the ball. And if they can control the ball throughout the course of the game, I don't think there's any chance for Washington State. And I think Oregon realizes they're absolutely the only chance that I think Oregon realizes they're absolutely the only chance that the Pac-12 has at making the playoff, and they're an outside chance at that. And so I think they've got a little bit to play for here, and Oregon gets the win.
Justin?
I completely agree with you, Ryan. I think to have a chance, like you said, you have to be able to run the ball. In Washington State, they don't run the ball very often. They're averaging little over 70 yards a game on the ground. And you look at the teams who have given Oregon the most trouble, and that's Stanford, and then Washington. They both run the ball really well. And so I think Oregon's going to win this one, and I don't think it's going to be close. I think this could be a 14, 21-point game. And I think Oregon's just going to kind of pull away with Washington State not being able to, find any success on the ground.
Andrew,
I'm sitting on the fence about this one. At the beginning of the week, I would have told you Oregon, but looking in more depth about the stats, I'm actually going to go Washington State on this one. They have the number one passing offense at 413 yards a game. Gardner Minshew's almost at 2,500 yards on the season, 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And you look at that Oregon defense in terms of like what they allow for passing yards. They're tied for 88th in the league at 239 yards. They're letting up a single game. And I think that it's going to be a close game, but the ability for Washington State to run the ball, like everybody's been saying, for them to run the ball and help out that pass game, I think that it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a high-scoring game.
So I found the list, before I make my pick, I found the list of Power 5 schools that have not hosted game day. Iowa State, Minnesota, Maryland, Duke, Virginia, Wake Forest, Cal, Syracuse, Illinois, Kansas, and Rutgers. The only one that kind of moderately surprises me is that Cal, when they had a couple good teams in the mid-2000s with Aaron Rodgers, didn't host. And, really other than that.
While Kansas has not hosted game day, if you remember, Border Showdown, Todd Reesing's senior year, was the game day game, but it was at Arrowhead.
Which one of these schools do you think will be the next one? I think Iowa State would be the next one to host game day.
I'm actually very surprised that there's never been a game day at Iowa State.
Well, because the years they pull off the upsets.
Schedule Kansas versus Rutgers and have game day there.
Why weren't they
at the bottom?
I think this year they were at Clemson A&M instead of Kansas Rutgers.
No, who needs that game?
Yeah, who cares about that?
Yeah.
I'm taking Oregon in this one. I think Justin Herbert's the best pro-style quarterback in the nation. I think he should be the top quarterback taken next year over Will Grier, over Drew Lock. And I think Oregon, like Ryan said, is the Pac-12's lone hope of getting in the playoff. And it's a long shot at that. They got to take care of business. They got to look impressive, and they need some help. The only thing that makes me maybe think Washington State can get the win is a primetime game. Game day is going to be there. It's at home. The energy could be electric. But I just think Justin Herbert, he's too good for that. So give me the Ducks to win. Kramer's taking Washington State. Jacob is taking Oregon. Caleb is also taking Oregon. Our last pick'em. This is just one because I wanted to throw it out there because it was really.
Why is this game on here?
What other one would you have put on there?
We could have picked. We could have picked Iowa, Maryland.
Yeah, but I didn't want to pick that one.
Okay.
Both these teams have not been good this year. Minnesota at Nebraska.
Oklahoma, TCU.
Yeah, but then
Cincinnati, Temple.
I debated that one, but that's why I wanted to talk some Nebraska, so we put it on here.
Why?
Why not? Minnesota at Nebraska. Nebraska off to their worst start in team history at 0-6.
Ew.
Yeah, Minnesota not too good either this year. It's in Lincoln. Ryan, does the Scott Frost era finally get a win?
No.
Do they win it all this year?
No.
You don't think they beat Bethune-Cookman next week?
No.
They're bad.
They're bad. But Nebraska's the entire state of Nebraska has given up.
Yeah.
It's quitting time, folks.
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I don't want to name names, but it was Luke Peterson earlier this year. Him and I were talking. I said, "What do you think Nebraska's record is going to be this year?" And Luke's a diehard Nebraska fan. And he said, "Oh, I think 8-4, maybe 9-3." I was like, "Have you seen this? Oh no, Frost will be fine." No. And then after the Michigan game, I texted him. I was like, "So now what do you think?" He's like, "I just hope they can make a bowl game."
I'm questioning how. I just hope they win a game. I'm questioning how they're the favorite in this game.
It's at Lincoln. That's the only reason why. I am going to go with Nebraska solely because I think they're going to get a win this year, and I think it's going to be one of those games that maybe we don't completely expect it. Like, I think they could win. This is such a bad team. I think they could beat Minnesota this week and then lose to Bethune-Cookman next week. Like, I think that's a strong possibility. And this is really this, and then Bethune-Cookman and Illinois are going to be the only games they're going to be favored in the rest of the year. I mean, they're not going to be favored against Ohio State, obviously. They're not going to be favored at Iowa. I think they play. There's one other game on their schedule that's eluding me. The Michigan State, they're not going to be favored against Michigan State, although they do play them at home. I think this is a chance to get the first win for Scott Frost. I think afterwards, all the Nebraska fans come out of the woodwork and remind us what a great coach Scott Frost is. And then they lose to Bethune-Cookman next week. And then they go back into the woods and wait until
1-11.
Yeah, 1-11 or 2. I don't think his team wins more than 3 games.
I don't.
You
know
can't.
this,
You can't
yeah,
tell.
I can't.
I think
find
they
more
win.
than
I
two.
think they win one game, maybe two. I could see them beating Michigan State just because they match up well with Michigan State all the time. But I can't see them. I mean, I don't see them beating Iowa. Knock on wood.
For the record, Bethune-Cookman, 3 wins in a row.
Yeah, but then Cookman actually, that's gonna be a close one. I think. But I'm taking Nebraska in this one just because I think they finally get that win. Justin.
I think they're also going to finish the season 1-11, but I don't think it's this week. I think they take on Bethune-Cookman and beat them. This is a weird game because they are favored, but FBI has Minnesota as the favorite to win.
I do want to point out, though, the fact that we were talking about 0-6 Nebraska does just warm my heart. I do want to point that out. That might be the whole reason we're actually talking about them.
Yeah.
I think the Gophers get this win because Nebraska is allowing almost 40 points a game, which is just about as bad as the Chiefs' defense has been this year. So
I think they're worse than the Chiefs' defense.
They probably are, and that's something crazy.
I mean, from a
to say.
talent standpoint, that's pretty obvious. But.
Yeah, but their defense is bad. Their offense, Adrian Martinez has been playing really well as a freshman quarterback. They've had a lot of culture issues there. They've kind of got some guys out of the program that were there when Frost took over, and he's kind of doing his own thing. And that's one of those things that, for a program like Nebraska, it's unheard of to go 7-5-8. I mean, they fired Frank Solich after he went 57-19 in 7 seasons, and got them to a Rose Bowl once and Fiesta Bowl a couple times. So they need to get things turned around. The USA Today had an interesting article last week about how they would owe Scott Frost like however much money if they fire him after this year. They're not going to fire him after this year. Let's be real. I can give him one more year.
I also heard that there was a booster that was offering to pay. I think it was like $15 million of the like $20 million buyout of his contract right now. It's just ridiculous.
That's Nebraska football for you.
Yeah.
Played 6 games with a bad team that he didn't even. Most of them he didn't recruit.
Yeah.
The only guy that's been his guy is a quarterback, and that's been the one guy that's looked really good. And JD Spielman's looked pretty good too. But Andrew, Huskers, Gophers, who are you taking?
I'm taking Minnesota. I'm kind of looking through Nebraska's team in general. Their offense is not bad. They like you were saying, they have Martinez, who's a good quarterback as a freshman. He's not nothing too.
I think he's got the potential to be.
Yeah, nothing
pretty good.
That jumps out on the stat sheet as of right now. But give him another year or two, and I think that he could be one of the top quarterbacks in the league. But the thing that this team is not good at is closing games out.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the past couple games. They got outscored in the fourth quarter against Colorado by 6. Outscored in the fourth quarter by Northwestern last week.
Northwestern last week went 99 yards in a minute and a half.
Their defense, and they have those 2 games where they got outscored in the last quarter of play, and then they had teams where the games against Michigan, Wisconsin, and Purdue, that they were just blowouts. Whether it be at home or away, they just got blown out. The defense either shows up for the first 3 quarters and then starts to dissipate, or doesn't show up at all. And I think that's one of the big things that Nebraska is having troubles with. And like you were saying, they're not going to fire Scott Frost. I think that the philosophy for college football is you give a new coach 3 years to get a little bit of recruiting in. They start to get players that they want on offense and have the offense and defense fit the schemes that they want to be able to run. I think that they're going to keep him for another year or two, whether fans like it or not.
Well, in the year, and this is funny because I did not think in last December when they hired him that we would be sitting here talking about how Nebraska's 0-6, and there's actually people, they might not be the most sane people, but there are actually people that want Scott Frost fired right now. Did not foresee that when they hired him back in December. I think it's important to note, though, too, when he took over Central Florida, they were 0-12 the year before. They were terrible. 2 years later, they were 12-0, and I'm not saying that's what Nebraska's going to be by any means, but you got to give it a little bit of time.
They might be 4-8 within the next couple of years.
They might be 6-6 in a couple of years. Their schedule's brutal. I think they play Ohio State like 4 times in the next 6 years or something like that.
If they go 4-8 next year, I think that's a happy improvement that they'll take. I mean,
well, but you are talking about Nebraska fans.
Yeah.
A rational college football fan should take them going from maybe 1-11
to 5-7
or 4-8, 5-7,
yeah, something like that.
The next year possibly make a bowl appearance. So I think it's going to be a work in progress.
I think their goal this year now should be go 3-9, and I don't know that go 3-3 the rest of the year. It's not happening with Ohio State, Michigan State, and Iowa still on your schedule, but that should be your. I mean, if Nebraska finishes the season 3-3, if you're a Nebraska fan, you should be pretty happy considering how terrible the start of the season looked.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's been bad, which is awesome. Kramer's also taking Nebraska. Andrew, like he said, is taking Minnesota. Caleb is taking Minnesota. and Jacob is taking Minnesota as well.
You that the views expressed in today's show do not reflect the views of KZLX, KNWT, or Northwest Missouri State University. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Trevor Mater, an empty chair, Kramer Sansone, and Andrew Botwinick wrapping things up with you. Going to end the show about an hour early today. Kick off our weekend a little bit early here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. It's been a good show, or at least I feel like it. I'm a little biased. I think they're all good shows. No Ryan, he left us a little bit early. Jacob not with us today. He'll be back next week. Jacob, if you're watching this, we miss you.
Do we though?
No, we do.
Okay, yeah, we do.
We do. Jacob, we miss you. Come back. So let's just go around the table, guys. What are going to be some of the things? What are your plans for the weekend? What are you watching? What are you going to be keeping an eye on?
So tonight I'm going to cover some 8-man football, and so it's Mound City versus Rockport. So I'm going to make the drive to Mound City after this. I'm definitely going to be listening or tuning and keeping updates on the baseball game with the Dodgers and the Brewers. There's also this rivalry game going on tomorrow with Michigan versus Michigan State.
Did not know that.
Yeah, there's a rivalry game going on tomorrow. Go Blue, and I'll probably try to get caught up on some wrestling on Sunday, but watch some football as well.
Andrew?
I've got work tomorrow through most of the day, so I won't be able to do a whole lot in terms of college, but I'm going to keep up with scores as much as I can. But on Sunday, before I go into work, I'm going to be mostly looking forward to that Saints-Ravens game. I think that's going to be one of the most overlooked games of the season because the Ravens offense isn't great, but Flacco and the rest of that defense,
and they like we talked about, they like to throw the ball a lot too.
They throw the ball. Their defense is one of the best going against one of the best offenses, if not the best, because they're averaging the most points in the league. They're sitting high in terms of yards and everything on every side of the ball, passing, rushing. I think that's going to be one of the games that's going to be overlooked in a lot of people's eyes. And then obviously that Chiefs game that night.
Tonight I'm going to go cover some good old you got something you want to add?
No, go for it.
I'll go for you. No, you can go ahead.
I also got to mention this. St. Louis Blues played the Toronto Maple Leafs. Got to get that all out there. Austin Matthews for the Maple Leafs has 16 points on the season so far with 10 goals. He's almost on pace to score over 150 goals on the season. He's having a pretty good year. Watch out for the Maple Leafs. They're actually really good this year in some hockey.
So I'm going to make the trek up tonight to Anita, Iowa. If you've never been there, it's I guess you're not really.
It's Iowa.
It's Iowa. It's not terrible, not great. Cover some good old Iowa 8-man high school football like I normally do on Friday nights. Tomorrow I'm going to take it easy. Watch some football. Watch the Iowa game for sure. Michigan State will be one I'll keep my eyes on. Washington State, Oregon, and as well as the Bearcats at Lindenwood. And then Sunday, since you got to talk a little bit of hockey, I'm going to talk NASCAR for a minute. I'm actually going to be headed down to the Kansas Speedway on Sunday afternoon as the Hollywood Casino 400 takes place. It'll be the cutoff for the round of 12. Myself and Jacob Blair will be down there watching it. My first ever Cup race. I'm really excited for it. I've never been to a NASCAR race at Kansas City. Growing up, just about 2.5 hours away from it. I've always wanted to go and just never gone. And I finally pulled the trigger on it and really excited for it. And then maybe if I get home in time and beat the traffic, I'm gonna watch the Chiefs game on Sunday night. So
sounds like fun.
It's gonna be a blast.